You stayed honest, steady, and emotionally grounded. So why does connection feel harder now than it ever did before? Many senior men reach a stage in life where they finally feel ready for real companionship. You've done the work. You've learned from mistakes. You've slowed down. And yet, instead of deeper connection, you're met with distance, hesitation, or emotional silence. Conversations feel polite but empty. Interest fades without explanation. What once formed naturally now feels forced or fragile. This isn't because you're lacking. It's because the emotional environment changed while your core values stayed the same. You were shaped by a time when relationships were built slowly. Commitment mattered. Effort was expected. As a result, many women, especially later in life, adapted emotionally to survive, not to connect. Decades of responsibility, disappointment, and emotional strain left many women exhausted. Instead of being guided toward healing, they were encouraged to stay guarded, strong, self-sufficient, emotionally contained. Independence became armor, and while that armor protected them, it also blocked closeness. You, however, approach connection differently. You lead with sincerity. You don't hide behind games or mixed signals. You say what you mean. But to someone who learned to expect betrayal or manipulation, honesty doesn't always feel safe, feels suspicious. So instead of relaxing into your presence, many women stay alert. Instead of trusting your calm, they question it. Instead of appreciating steadiness, they search for hidden motives. Not because you give reasons to doubt, but because doubt became their emotional default. There's also a generational imbalance at play. Many women spent earlier years in relationships with men who lacked consistency or emotional maturity. Over time, instability became familiar. Predictability became rare. So when a man shows up grounded, patient, and emotionally available, it feels foreign. Good men were once the baseline. Now they're treated like an exception that requires investigation. But modern dating culture often promotes excitement over compatibility, intensity over reliability, and instant chemistry over long-term harmony. So men who offer peace are overlooked not because they lack depth, but because depth no longer screams for attention. This creates an emotional mismatch. You're ready to build something meaningful, while she may still be navigating emotional survival. What if the reason she pulls away isn't because you redoing something wrong, but because you redoing everything right? As a good senior man, you bring something rare into modern relationships. Emotional stability. You're consistent, you're clear. You don't rush intimacy, and you don't create unnecessary drama. Yet, paradoxically, these very qualities can create discomfort instead of closeness. Many women today are not unfamiliar with relationships. They're unfamiliar with healthy ones. Years of dealing with emotionally unpredictable partners shaped their expectations. High emotional intensity became normal. Uncertainty became familiar. Stress felt like passion. Over time, calm began to feel empty, even suspicious. So when you offer steadiness instead of emotional chaos, it doesn't always register as safety, it registers as unfamiliar territory. Another key issue is emotional clarity. You say what you mean. You follow through. You don't hide behind ambiguity, but clarity requires accountability, and accountability forces people to confront themselves. When a woman meets a man who is emotionally grounded, she can no longer blame confusion on mixed signals or inconsistency. Your presence removes excuses. Suddenly, she must face her own readiness, her own fears, and her own emotional patterns. For some, that feels like pressure rather than relief. Instead of leaning in, they pull back. There's also the matter of unrealistic expectations. Modern messaging often tells women they deserve a flawless partner, someone exciting, emotionally perfect, endlessly patient, and without history. But real men, especially seasoned ones, are shaped by life. You bring wisdom, boundaries, and experience. You're not fantasy, you're real. And when reality doesn't match an idealized image, some women misinterpret maturity as incompatibility. Boundaries create another point of confusion. At this stage of life, you no longer tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or emotional games. You value peace. You protect your time and energy. But for women accustomed to men who overextend, overexplain, or overaccommodate, boundaries can feel like emotional distance. When you say no, it's not rejection, it's respect. Yet some women interpret it as coldness because they aren't used to men who don't abandon themselves for connection. There's also emotional timing. Many men in their 50s, 60s, and beyond grow into their strongest version, calmer, wiser, more emotionally intelligent. But not everyone evolves at the same pace. Some women remain anchored to old wounds, unresolved grief, or survival habits formed years ago. When emotional growth is uneven, connection struggles. You may be ready for partnership while she's still defending herself from a past that no longer exists. This isn't about blame, it's about alignment. And until emotional readiness meets emotional maturity, stability can feel threatening instead of comforting. Sometimes a woman doesn't pull away because she doesn't feel anything, she pulls away because she feels too much. When a woman encounters a good senior man, something subtle but powerful often happens beneath the surface. She isn't just meeting a potential partner, she's meeting a reflection of her own emotional journey. Your calm highlights what she once tolerated. Your consistency exposes what she once accepted. Your clarity reveals how much confusion shaped her past. This unintentional mirror can be deeply unsettling. For many women, your presence quietly brings unresolved memories to the surface. Past relationships, missed opportunities, compromises made out of fear or loneliness. The contrast between who you are and what she previously endured forces emotional awareness she may have avoided for years, and awareness is uncomfortable. Instead of sitting with those feelings, some women choose distance. Walking away feels easier than confronting regret, grief, or So rather than risk deep attachment, they retreat early. Leaving feels safer than loving. Another layer is emotional readiness. When you show up mature, responsible, and self-assured, it removes the ability to rely on emotional shortcuts. There's no confusion to hide behind. No games to play, no instability to blame. Your strength quietly asks, "Are you ready?" And not every woman is. Some women grew accustomed to relationships where they held emotional control, where partners were dependent, inconsistent, or easily influenced. A good senior man doesn't seek validation. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't bend himself to maintain connection. That independence requires an equal emotional response. Instead of rising to that level, some women withdraw to remain comfortable. Guilt also plays a hidden role. Some women carry remorse from past choices, good men they overlooked, relationships they mishandled, or stability they dismissed. Meeting a man who embodies what they once ignored can reopen those feelings. But guilt often silences connection faster than rejection. Insecurity adds to the struggle. Women compare themselves to younger versions of who they once were. When they meet a man who seems emotionally grounded and at peace, self-doubt emerges. They question whether they're still desirable, still worthy, still enough. And insecurity builds walls where trust should grow. You may see calm potential. She may see emotional risk. This is the mirror effect, and not everyone is ready to face what it reflects. What if calm doesn't feel safe to her, not because it's empty, but because it's unfamiliar? For many women, emotional peace isn't something they grew up experiencing consistently. Instead, love was often paired with stress, unpredictability, emotional intensity, or sacrifice. Over time, the nervous system adapts. Chaos becomes recognizable. Stillness feels strange. Peace doesn't demand attention. It doesn't create adrenaline. It doesn't pull someone into emotional highs and lows. And for someone conditioned by years of emotional turbulence, that absence of intensity can feel like something is missing even when nothing is wrong. This is why some women confuse stability with boredom. You don't chase arguments. You don't escalate emotions. You don't respond to tension with more tension. When conflict arises, you seek resolution, not dominance. But for women who subconsciously associate love with intensity, your calm response can feel like distance rather than maturity. They interpret quiet as lack of interest. So when you offer companionship, care, and partnership, it can feel like a threat to the independence they fought so hard to maintain. They want closeness, but not vulnerability. Support, but not reliance. They assume stability is permanent if gone. But it leaves a lasting absence when removed.